What's up everyone, my name is Alpha and today we're back with a Pokemon challenge video. Today we're on Pokemon X and today's challenge will be can I be Pokemon X Hardcore Nuzlocke using only single stage shiny Pokemon. So what does this mean? Essentially they're Pokemon that unfortunately have no one to love and no family, and they have only one stage of themselves. So for some reason I decided to do a Hardcore Nuzlocke of using only these specific type of Pokemon. There's actually not a lot of Pokemon like this, especially in Pokemon X, so we're gonna have to be very careful going through this game. It's a pretty easy game, we established this, but using these specific Pokemon, they're not always great. They also fall a bit short in power, especially at the midpoint to late game, so we're gonna have to be very careful of that. And on top of that, we're doing a Hardcore Nuzlocke, so essentially we can only catch one Pokemon per route. They must be shiny and they must have a single stage, just one single stage. Can't pre-evolution, post-evolution, it can't be either one of those. They have to have one single stage, and if they ever faint, they're dead, so we can't use them ever again. There's gonna be a death counter in the bottom left, and also on the bottom left there's gonna be a level cap, which means my Pokemon cannot get past that point until we clear through the level cap, which is gonna be the gym leaders in the game. We can't get past the level cap until we beat the gym leaders. There's also no items inside of battles. We can use hell items, but we can't use potions to heal our Pokemon mid battle. We also have to play on set mode, and yeah, there's a lot of rules going on. At this point I think everyone should understand the rules, but besides that we actually added our own fun rule, which is going to be each of my Pokemon being nicknamed after you guys in the comments. So thanks so much for leaving me a nickname in my previous challenge video. If you guys want to be nicknamed after your future Pokemon, just drop in the comments and hopefully have pictures. And while it's down there, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to my channel, it means a lot to me. Anyways, let's get into the challenge video itself. To begin off, there is no single stage starter Pokemon. Surprisingly we cannot get a single stage Pokemon here, so I decided to run out into Route 22, which is surprising that you have access to Route 22 on this early of the game. They have a lot of low level Pokemon and also a lot of interesting Pokemon out here. So there's two different Pokemon we could have got. I was kind of looking for Farfetch and then I realized, oh, Dunsparce is in here too. So eventually we find ourselves a shiny Dunsparce on accident. I was like, oh, okay. So I kind of was looking for Farfetch. Could have made the game a lot easier for us because I think Farfetch is a lot better Pokemon than Dunsparce. Even though Dunsparce is nice and tanky, it doesn't have the variety of Farfetch. So we get ourselves a Dunsparce, which technically evolves in Paldea to a Dunsparce. However, we're not playing Scarlet and Violet, so technically Dunsparce doesn't evolve in this, so you know what, we're playing off region base. Dunsparce counts and I don't want to shiny hunt anymore, so I go out and face off against Viola next. Viola is giving me the first gym leader in the game. We're start the battle off against her using my Dunsparce, looking if this thing is smart enough to have rollout, so we're able to just beat down a Surskit in 2 shots, and from there rollout's already boosted up so I can one-shot the Vivillon, and we end up beating out Viola in 3 turns, so probably one of the easier fights in the game. As we beat down Viola, we can move out into Route 5, which is gonna be home of a whole lot of nothing. Yeah, we got Furfrou out here, so we can find ourselves a shiny Furfrou and then add it to my team. Yeah, it's nothing too important. Furfrou's not that great of a Pokemon. We also move on to Route 6, which technically we have another option to catch another Pokemon out here. However, I decided against it because I'm gonna get myself a Kecleon at the best, so it's not really worth it. Even though Kecleon is better than both my other 2 Pokemon, I decided to just wait off into Route 8, which is going to be the coastal route. There's a lot more Pokemon out here, Zangoose, Viper, and also Absol. So kind of want one of them, so we're gonna shiny hunt out here. I don't mind Zangoose or Absol, honestly, so I get myself a shiny Absol, which we'll absolutely take. We got the best one. Yeah, Zangoose is also good because it gets Swords Dance pretty early and could start sweeping, so you know what, we don't mind that. Absol was a bit of a pain to catch, as you can see. Eventually we catched it, even though we ran out of Great Balls for it. So from there we can move out into Glittering Cave and also get another Pokemon as well. So we get ourselves a shiny Lunatone, which of course we're gonna take. So shiny Lunatone is gonna be decent. I kind of want a Kangaskhan. You know what, beggars cannot be choosers, or is that how it goes? I don't know. I feel like that's how it went. As from there, we're going to move on and face off against Grant next. Grant is going to be the Rock type gym leader in the game. We're start the battle off against him using my Dunsparce. As you can start the battle off against us using a Mora. I have Rock Smash as a move, and I could Rock Smash into the Mora, force him to use a Hyper Potion. From there, I already lower his defenses, so I can one-shot the Mora, as the next bone will be a Tyrant, which I was kind of scared about. He goes for a bite and does like 0 damage to me, so I'm like, okay, well, I just got a breakthrough paralysis and bite flinches potential, and I do, so I instantly knock out the Tyrant and we beat down Grant. So I guess we'll take that. So we beat down Grant. We can move on into Route 10 next, and Route 10 has a lot of decent Pokemon for us. We get ourselves a Sigilyph and also a Hawlucha out here, so we're gonna wait around. Eventually we get ourselves another great encounter. We get ourselves a shiny Hawlucha, which we haven't used in a little bit, and it's a reason why, because this thing's really broken. So of course we're gonna take our time to catch this thing. This thing's a pretty strong Pokemon. So we catch ourselves a shiny Hawlucha. We're gonna add it to our team, and now from there we can make our way into the next gym in the game. We're face off against Karina. Karina's going to be the fighting type gym leader in the game, and we can start the battle off against her using my Hawlucha. Hawlucha is able to go for a wing attack, take the fake out, but then wing attack to knock out the Mienfoo. From there, her next Pokemon will be a Machoke, which honestly just stayed in. Wing attack once again to knock out the Machoke, and her final Pokemon will be a Hawlucha, which I don't knock out in one shot, but I knock him into low HP, force him to use a healing item, and then from there I get two-shot the Hawlucha and end up knocking out Karina's Hawlucha as we beat down the third gym in the game, get ourselves the third gym badge, and then from there we can move on to the coastal route of Route 12, and then from there we can start shiny hunting it for a shiny Lapras. And it takes a little bit, but you know what, we could actually guarantee the encounter, so we could always find ourselves the Lapras, and eventually we get ourselves a shiny Lapras, which can be really huge, a water and ice type, and a lot of HP and defenses for a tank. So as we're also going to move on into Cormorant City and then get ourselves some incense, sea incense, and also a lax incense, which can be pretty useful. As from there, we're going to face up against our rival right outside of the gym. We're going to clear through and get Swords Dance on our Absol, which obviously we're going to take. So from there, we can move on and face off against Ramos next. Ramos can be the fourth gym leader in the game. We're starting the battle off against him using my Hawlucha again, because Hawlucha is really broken. We could one-shot into the Jumpluff plate. I think I forgot about the flying plate for some reason, but I one-shot the Jumpluff. His next Pokemon will be a Go-Go, which I go for another wing attack, and eventually two more wing attacks when knock out the Go-Go. As his final Pokemon will be a Weeping Bell, which I one-shot into him and end up knocking him out. As we beat down Ramos and we can move out, we can face off against these Team Flare members in the Desert Factory, which, you know what, a lot of my Pokemon are actually falling off. I can't lie. The Dunsparce and Furfrou have not seen the light of day in a little bit, which is going to be a shame, because we're going to move out and face up against the next gym leader in the game. We're going to face off against Clement. Clement's going to start the battle off against us using a Moga, which I start the battle off using my Lunatone against him. He's going to Volt Switch immediately and go out to his Magneton, which I didn't expect. So I'm going to switch out into my Furfrou and get almost destroyed by Thunderbolt in electric terrain. So unfortunately, I'm going to sack my Furfrou, because if it goes for Thunderbolt again, I don't think anything on my team is going to survive it. So unfortunately, Furfrou goes down to the Thunderbolt, and I'm like, oh, that sucks. Go out to my Lapras, which you might be surprised by, but I do know I can outspeed him, and I can also surf and do more damage than anything else on my team, honestly. So I go for two surfs to knock out the Magneton, but he's going to switch out in the middle of it. He's going to switch out to his Heliolisk with also Dry Skin, so it's honestly pretty bad for us. Go out into my Dunsparce, I take a Thunderbolt, but I'm also able to get a Yawn off against him, which is really nice. And from there, I could Roost off, dodge the Thunderbolt thanks to the Lax Instance, maybe to put down a Heliolisk to sleep, and then go for a Rollout out of everything, which ends up working out for us as we knock out the Heliolisk, as the next Pokemon will be a Magneton. I do get the rollout counter up and knock out the Magneton, and his final Pokemon will be an Amoga. I missed the rollout. I hate rollout for that. Why does it miss? So from there, I still build up the rollout, which is really bad for me. Luckily, I stopped the rollout counter, and I'm able to go out to my Lunatone, which was Psychic, and knock out the Amoga, but that battle got very scuffed very quickly. So lucky enough, we beat him down, and we lose our Furfrou, which kind of sucks, but that means our team is a little lighter, because we don't have the backpack Furfrou anymore. But honestly, my team's not that great, besides like 2 or 3 Pokemon. You could tell which 3 Pokemon I'm talking about. From there, we're going to face off against our rival in Route 14, heading into Laverier City. From there, we could face off against the next gym leader in the game, and surprisingly, the best Pokemon on the team to face off against the Fairy type is my Lapras. So we're going to use Lapras with a Sea Instance against Valerie's Fairy type team. We're going to Surf and one-shot her Mawile, which is pretty easy. Her next Pokemon after that will be a Mr. Mime, which sets up Light Screen. Even though, you know what, Surf does a lot of damage, that was a crit, I think. And eventually, I'm able to chip down Mr. Mime into low HP and knock him out with a Surf, as her next Pokemon will be a Sylveon. I go for a Parasong, because I know it can survive any move, and lucky enough I do, because Desmond seems like he's doing a lot of damage. So go out into my Lunatone to Hypnosis into him, and then from there, you know, Parasongs can knock out the Sylveon eventually, as we end up beating down Valerie and getting ourselves the 6th gym badge in the game. My team is actually holding up pretty well as we clear through the Ice Cavern, and also against our rival, which my Hawlucha gets too OP as it actually goes over the level cap. So in this situation, I decided to actually go out and box my Hawlucha. As from there, we're going to move out and face off against Olympia next. Olympia is going to be the 7th gym leader in the game. We're start the battle off against her using my Absol, and I don't want this thing to set up Reflect or anything. So against Siglif, I'm going to go for Night Slash and then one-shot the Siglif. Her next Pokemon will be a Slowking, which I one-shot with a crit as well. And from there, her next Pokemon and final Pokemon, actually I learned did not want to learn Explosion on my Lunatone. I go for a Night Slash against the Meowstic, which I get faked out, but from there I can just one-shot it, as we're able to beat down Olympia pretty easily since we have a Dark type on our team. And from there we can move out and face off against Team Flare, which we face off against don't know why we face off against Lysander for the first time 3 times in a row. Catch yourselves Xerneas, which actually was a bad play because I only have 5 Pokemon, so Xerneas is also the first member on my team. So when face off against Lysander for the final time, Xerneas is the first Pokemon, and since we can't use Xerneas at all, we have to switch out immediately, so it actually wastes a turn of me. So I wanted to set up using Hawlucha using this turn, but unfortunately I'm forced to knock out the Mienshao without a boost. So I knock out the Mienshao. His next Pokemon will be a Honchkrow, which goes for an Air Lace and almost kills me with a crit. So I gotta go for an Air Lace and knock out the Honchkrow, as the next Pokemon will be a Pyroar, which I go out to my Lapras and then go for a Surf against him, take a Fire Blast too, which is so dangerous. His next Pokemon after will be his Mega Gyarados, which I go for a Parasong, which is a scary thing to do in face of Gyarados, as he goes for an Outrage and crits and almost kills me through it. So I actually didn't go for Parasong. I went for Thunderbolt. Why did I don't know, I went for Thunderbolt. I think I got rid of Parasong, so Thunderbolt doesn't do a lot of damage, but he's stuck in Outrage. So I could go out into my Lunatone, take an Outrage, hopefully I could land the Hypnosis, and I do. And from there he stays asleep as I'm able to Moonblast and knock him out. So got really scary, I'm not gonna lie. A lot of bad plays, but eventually we beat Lysander and we can move out. We can move on to Route 18, which we can finally shiny hunt for our final Pokemon we've been looking for, which is gonna be Heatmore or Durant. There's actually a third Pokemon, I forgot the third Pokemon, but we can choose one of those. Oh, Torkoal, we can get Torkoal in here as well, but eventually we get ourselves the best one, and we get ourselves a shiny Durant, which we'll absolutely take. I think we got 3 of the best encounters we possibly get, and the only thing we missed out on was Farfetch and also Kangaskhan. So those are the biggest encounters we missed, but honestly everything else worked out pretty well for us. We get ourselves a shiny Durant, face off against a rival, and Durant has Hustle, and it's looking pretty bad for us because, you know, he gets confused. I don't know why I left him in, but yeah, could have gotten really bad there as well, as we're going to move out and face off against the 8th gym leader in the game. We're going to face off against Wolfric next. Wolfric's going to start the battle off against us using an Abomasnow, and this bite got me tilted so much. Well, so I start the battle off against him using my Hawlucha. I missed a fly. Hawlucha almost dies from that, so I could have really just lost the battle. Anyways, I go out to my Dunsparce against him. I go for a Yawn against him, looking to put him to sleep as I go out to my Lunatone. Lunatone's able to go for a Psychic. Eventually 2 Psychics will knock out the Abomasnow, as he then goes out to his Cryogonal, which I'm able to go for Hypnosis. He puts him to sleep, but Psychic is not doing a lot of damage. Eventually he's gonna get healed by a Hyper Potion. From there I'm still able to land a Hypnosis and eventually Psychic into him to knock him out. 2 more Psychics and I end up knocking out the Cryogonal, as his final Pokemon will be an Avalok, which I go out to my Lapras, take a Crunch, take any move from the Avalok, as I'm able to go for a Surf twice to knock out the Avalok, as we end up beating down Wolfric. And from there we can move out. We're gonna face out against a rival into Victory Road and clear through Victory Road entirely pretty easily, as Absol's pretty strong, as you can see. From there we can move out into the Elite Four itself, and we can start our Elite Four challenge against the Elite Four. So we're first Elite Four member we're gonna face off against, like always, is gonna be Malva. Malva's gonna start the battle off against us using a Pyro. We're gonna start the battle off against her using my Lapras with Sea Incense. We're able to surf into the Pyro and knock him out. We don't knock him out. Oh my god. Look, I remember this now. This was so tilting. 2 surfs does not. I don't have any ethers or elixir because I forgot to pick them up. I'm not even able to Thunderbolt into him. So I get him down to low HP. He's Noble Roaring so much. Lucky enough, it doesn't heal up again as I'm able to Thunderbolt and knock out the Pyro. I switched out into my Lunatone. I missed 2 Hypnosis as he lands 4 Stone Edges. I'm like, what is going on? I couldn't land a single Hypnosis. He lands 4 Stone Edges. Go out to my Lapras, Surf, and knock out the Torkoal at least. From there, his next Pokemon will be a Talonflame as I go for a Surf. Take a Flare Blitz at least and knock out the Talonflame. Her final Pokemon will be a Chandelure, which I don't outspeed. I was surprised by. So I was like, what? Anyways, I get confused. I luckily don't hit myself in confusion as I made a Surf and knock out a Chandelure in one shot, as we beat down Malva in a very annoying tilting way without losing a Pokemon. From there, we're going to face up against Wingstrom next. Wingstrom's going to start the battle off against us using a Klefki as I go for my Durant. And Durant, I go for X Scissor on accident, misclicked. Honestly, I should have switched my controller, but from there he sets up 2 layers of spike, actually 3 layers of spike, as I miss an Iron Head against him, and I'm like, oh, come on. I didn't win Iron Head. I eventually knock out the Clef Key as he torments me. His next opponent will be a Propass, which I go for a Crunch. At least it lands that. I don't take a Power Gem too well, so I gotta switch out into my Hawlucha next. Hawlucha also doesn't take a Power Gem too well, as I'm able to Power Up Punch and knock out the Propass in one shot, as the next opponent will be a Scizor, which goes for Iron Head and crits me, almost knocks me out. I'm like, okay, well, he's gonna go for Bullet Punch. Honestly, attacking the Propass was probably the worst idea I ever had, because I missed out on a lot of boost. From there, I go out to my Lapras, and Lapras gets critted with Bullet Punch as well, as I'm forced to use Surf, and I'm like, you know what, I'm in range. Hopefully he doesn't kill me with Bullet Punch. I gotta Surf into him, and lucky enough, I'm able to Surf twice into the Scizor to knock him out, as his final Pokemon will be an H-Slash. I decided to go out into my Dunsparce, which would yawn into him and take a Sacred Sword. Lucky enough, it does. As I go out into my Lunatone next, which will take the Sacred Sword for me as I go out into my Absol. Absol's able to Night Slash into the H-Slash and knock him out, but could have got really risky for us. From there, we're going to move on and face off against Drasna, a little easier of a fight. So we're going to start the battle off against Drasna using my Absol. For some reason, I go for a Sword Sense against her Draglich, and then Night Slash to knock out the Draglich. Her next opponent will be an Altaria, which I go for a Night Slash and one-shot it. At this point, I was feeling it. Against the Druddigon, I'm like, maybe, you know what, Night Slash would probably kill. It doesn't kill. Left him with 1 HP, and then he goes for a Revenge, and I'm like, I saw this in slow motion. I was like, no, my Absol, and Absol went down. I was like, oh, it's so annoying. It just tilted me so bad. This entire run, for some reason, was tilting. But from there, I go out to my Hawlucha and start power punching into the Druddigon. This was like the most stupidest play possible. I have so many other options. Go out to Hawlucha and start punching into the Druddigon with rough skin. Eventually knock him out, but my Hawlucha's at low HP, so I gotta switch out into my Lapras anyways. Go out to my Lapras, Ice Beam to knock out the Northern, but honestly, I was just upset at this point. I was just mad. I don't get mad at Pokemon too often, but this run was getting me mad. From there, I move out and face off against Shieldberg next, which is going to be the 4th and final Elite Four member. I started the battle off against him using my Dunsparce against his Clawitzer. I'm going to go for a Yawn as he goes for an Aura Sphere. It almost knocks me out, so I got to go out to something else. Go out to my Hawlucha, which would take an Aura Sphere, which I then could go for Power Up Punches against him. I think I get 3 Power Up Punches. Yeah, 3 Power Up Punches. He wakes up and almost knocks me out. So I gotta be very careful. I decided to go for an actual nice play. I roost up. I go for a roost and roost up all the damage and go for a fly to knock out the Clawitzer. His next opponent after that will be a Starmie. I outspeed him and I'm able to fly and knock out the Starmie. His next opponent after that will be his Gyarados, which I can outspeed and also damage him. So he goes for Dragon Dance, and then from there I can go for a fly and knock out the Gyarados. As his final opponent will be a Barbarico, which I go for a Power Punch and knock him out in one shot. As we end up beating down Sealberg, and yeah, a little less tilting. From there, we're going to move out and face off against the champion in the game. We're going to face off against Diantha. Diantha's going to start the battle off against us using her own Hawlucha. As I go for my Lunatone. Lunatone's able to go for a Psychic and one shot to Hawlucha, taking X Scissor as well. Her next opponent after that will be a Tyrantrum, which go out into my Durant, and Durant is going to have a fun day. Durant takes a Crunch easily, and then Iron Head. Luckily it lands. Knock out the Tyrantrum. As the next opponent will be a Goodra. I know this thing has Fire Blast. I go out to my Lapras next, take a Fire Blast, and burns it. And it burns me, which is fine. I end up going for an Ice Beam. I take a Focus Blast from the goat. I take a Focus Blast. It misses the first one, so I'm going to go for a second Ice Beam. Knock out the Goodra. And from there, her next opponent after that will be an Aurorus, which I go back out to my Durant. I take a Thunder, which, you know what? Looking up, it didn't paralyze me, so I can go for an Iron Head. Looking up, it doesn't miss again. So I'm able to knock out the Aurora. As her next opponent will be a Gourgeist. I know this thing too well, so it's only going for Phantom Forces. As I go for an Iron Head, and then I can go for Digs, and then force him to heal. It heals 3 times. Like, how many heals do you want to use, ma'am? 3 different heals? This thing's not that great of a Pokemon. And I missed. I promise to you, I don't know why, but it got me so upset. I went for Crunch 3 different times when she healed. Each time when she healed, I went for Crunch and it missed every single time. All 3 times it misses Crunch, and then from there, finally I land a Crunch and one-shot the Gourgeist. And her final opponent will be a Mega Gardevoir, which I go for an Iron Head. Looking at it lands, and I'm able to knock him out. So we end up beating down Diantha. No problems at all, obviously. No problems. I'm not mad at all. So from there, we beat down Diantha. We beat down the challenge. So we end up being Pokemon X Hardcore Nuzlocke using only single stage shiny Pokemon, and with 2 deaths, it's one really stupid death, the other one pretty much unavoidable. I think it's a fine challenge. I think we completed it pretty well, And yeah, that will be it from me today. Thanks so much for watching all the way to the end. I hope you guys all enjoyed this video. If you guys can, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel. It means a lot to me. Anyways, my name's been Alpha, and I hope you guys all have a great day, and I'm out. Peace.